One of the reporters who first broke this story, senior writer on the Metro staff of the New York Times, William K. Rashbaum. William, thanks for being here this morning. We appreciate it. Talk us through a little bit about Alvin Bragg's thinking, according to your reporting, and what else he learned, perhaps, that led him to impanel this grand jury.
Well, I can't really tell you about his thinking because I'm not inside his head. But the investigation that he inherited from Cy Vance was focused on basically on Donald Trump's business practices, on inflating the valuation of his assets. He chose not to go forward with that. They pursued the case against Trump's CFO, Alan Weisselberg, and the companies. Weisselberg pled guilty, the companies were convicted, and now they find themselves, going forward with this, with the hush money case. So it's a simpler case than the valuations. And it's something that, as was alluded to before, they've come back to and dropped a number of times along the way. So it's hard to say what the thinking is, but it certainly looks like they are moving closer to bringing charges. It's, the next step.
One of the flashback names we got in your piece was that of David Pecker, the former publisher of the National Enquirer, who was seen actually going into the building in Lower Manhattan where the grand jury is seated. Remind our viewers, if you would, his role in all of this and why he might be an important player.
Well, I think that Mr. Pecker and a few other people are witnesses because they're part of the arc of the story that precedes the actual payment of $130,000 to Stormy Daniels, and then the subsequent reimbursement of that money and some additional funds to Michael Cohen. And Pecker was the publisher of the National Enquirer, who had been engaged in what has come to be known, I guess, as catch and kill, meaning purchase or obtain stories and then negative stories about someone, in this instance, obviously Donald Trump, and then actually not publish them, hence the kill part. So that arc in advance of the payment includes Pecker, the editor of the National Enquirer, Hope Hicks, some others who, and the chronology is laid out in the search warrant affidavits that a judge approved to actually search Michael Cohen's office back in, I guess that was April of 2018. But that chronology of calls and texts working towards figuring out who was going to pay and how is sort of that story arc that I referred to.
And so, John, the story that Michael Cohen pled to was that he funneled the $130,000 from Donald Trump through Michael Cohen, through the campaign, over to David Pecker and the National Enquirer to pay off Stormy Daniels, buy her story, and then not publish it so it would go away right around the time of the election in 2016.
Right. Trump then reimbursed Michael Cohen for $130,000, but never said as to what, because if he is still denied having this affair in the first place. William Rashbaum, great to see you. Question, this has been such a source of frustration that there has not been a charge connected to Donald Trump. He was individual one all along when Cohen was indicted and convicted, to the point, and it was alluded to earlier, 2 prosecutors even walked off the job because of it. What changed? And more than that, what are these prosecutors who were so frustrated before they left, like, what's their sense now that it's actually happening?
Well, I think, I think you should interview them. But I think that this is a simpler case than the earlier case. I would imagine that those prosecutors, who worked hard to try and put together a case, would like to see Donald Trump held accountable, regardless of who's sort of running the show. But I think there's a lot of things that were going on behind the scenes. It was an unusual circumstance where you had a transition from one DA to the other in the middle of a extremely complex and long-running investigation. So there's a whole lot of different factors at play. But as has often been the case in the past, these circumstances so often tend to benefit Mr. Trump, and or so far.
So, Caroline, if you look at this case, Michael Cohen already pled guilty to this story that we're hearing. He served more than a year in prison, some more time in home confinement. So this was sort of, adjudicated a little bit. So how do you see this playing out? Do you think we're going to see the indictment and perhaps the conviction eventually of someone besides Michael Cohen?
Ooh, I learned a long time ago not to make predictions.
Where does it go from here anyway?
Well, I would just note that the case is essentially made for them, at least with the documentation, right? In financial crimes, money doesn't lie, following the money. Here, and as you noted, what is sort of extraordinary about this case is that in the Southern District's prosecution of Michael Cohen, as you're right, as you noted, he sat there in open court and allocated in his guilty plea that he made these payments at the behest of individual one, who people are colloquially calling an unindicted co-conspirator. But you sort of have the paper trail there and a theory of the case that's already been, at least in a federal prosecution, it's already on paper.
And there's a check for $130,000 to Stormy Daniels. Donald Trump says, I was just giving Michael Cohen $130,000 for legal fees.
Slush fund.
Happened to be the same number.
Exactly.
All right. Caroline Polisi, thank you very much. Always good to see you. New York Times senior writer William K. Rashbaum, thanks for bringing us your reporting as well. Appreciate it. Mika.